I thought performing for the first time in years was going to be the hardest part, but the real challenge was talking to someone new. I got back on the stage last week for the first time in years. That alone was a huge moment for me. For the past few years, I've basically been at home. I kind of just put myself in a corner, put myself on a shelf, whatever, at home, and I have been really focusing inward. I really haven't been around many people. So getting back up on stage, feeling all of that energy being up there was super overwhelming. I'm realizing that the hardest part actually isn't the performing again, it's being around other people again, and then taking it a step further, trying to connect with people again. That has been something that has been very overwhelming for me. That's been very overwhelming for me. Recently, I read something in a book that really stayed with me. It said that one of the greatest paths towards consciousness and true liberation is through your triggers. And one of the easiest and fastest ways to discover your triggers is through your relationships with other people. And that actually made a lot of sense for me, because when you're alone, it is easy to find peace, find your grounding, not feel overwhelmed, right? When you're alone, it is so much easier to feel like you are healed, like you're grounded, like you're at peace. But the moment you start interacting with other people again, that's when things start to come up. That's when the triggers start happening. And that's exactly what happened to me this week. I recently got out of a long-term relationship, and it's been just a little over 1 month of no contact. In that relationship, there were a lot of things said to me about who I was, and not just who I was in the relationship. There were a lot of labels put onto me about not just who I was then, but also who I would supposedly be after. And the truth is that when someone says something to you enough times, eventually it starts to stick. So this week I decided to do something that honestly felt a little bit scary. After performing, I decided to try connecting with someone again, just on a more personal level and through conversation, just getting to know someone. And when I did that, I realized something. All of those old labels were still sticking to my mind. As I was just trying to have this conversation with this person, I wasn't able to just be present like I am when I'm sitting at home by myself. I was still hearing those old voices, those old narratives, those old labels that I was given, that were put onto me. Those old labels about who I am supposed to be. And suddenly I felt triggered. So many emotions started coming up in this conversation. Insecurity, defensiveness, fear of being misunderstood. And honestly, I did not handle it perfectly at all. I feel like maybe I even showed some hostility towards this person that I was having a conversation with, when it wasn't even his fault. It had nothing to do with him. It was just my emotions rising to the surface. I tried everything in that situation to just feel through those emotions and let them flow through me so that I could get back to this grounded, peaceful, present state. It just did not go that way. At one point, I remember hearing him say like, "Oh no." I felt even more insecure in that moment. And that insecurity kind of spiraled. By the end of that interaction, I probably demolished any chance of us having a positive connection. And honestly, it was a little embarrassing. I can admit that. But I'm trying to be gentle with myself. I'm trying to remind myself of how much courage it took for me to even just be there to be on stage again, to be in a crowd again, and then taking it a step further and trying to connect with someone again. That's growth, even when it's messy. And the whole reason to move toward your triggers rather than to run away from them is because our triggers show us where we still have room left to grow. Triggers are teachers. They reveal parts of ourselves that are still healing. They reveal the places where old stories are still living inside of us. And when those moments happen, even though we might not handle them perfectly, they give us an opportunity to be more aware, and an opportunity to respond differently. The goal isn't perfection. The goal is continuation, to keep showing up, to keep connecting, to keep putting yourself in situations where you might be triggered again, because each time you do, you gain more awareness, and awareness leads to freedom. Another important thing I'm learning is that not everyone is going to have the capacity to hold space for you while you're healing. And that's okay. Everyone has their own journey. Everyone has their own limits. And it's not anyone else's responsibility to carry our healing for us. Our responsibility is simply to stay committed to growing. So this week, I faced my triggers, and I also faced rejection. And honestly, I feel like that means I'm off to a really great start. Because when you ask God for growth, it doesn't usually show up in the way you expect it. Instead, you are given these situations where you can practice becoming the person that you are growing into. Situations where you get to see yourself clearly. Situations where you get to choose again. I know I still have a long journey ahead of me, and I'm okay with that if it means true liberation in the end. Stay safe in who you are, and stay sound in where you stand.